Hello, I'm Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest YouTube video. This video is part of a collaboration which I'll tell you more about in a moment. And in my video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 different ways you can add writing spots to your junk journal. It's one of the things people comment on a lot is that I add lots and lots of writing in my journals. For me, it's one of the kind of really important and meaningful ways that I can add little bits of documentation about my day in my junk journal. So I thought I'd share 5 really simple ways for you to be able to start adding writing, if you want to, onto what usually starts as already kind of really busy pages. So I'm going to flick forwards a little bit in my journal because I like to use it pretty much every day, and we're still in January at the moment. This is a handmade junk journal and I've included coffee dyed papers, magazine pieces, scrapbooking paper, jelly print plates, anything really that I could get my hands on when I was making this. So I think maybe I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to start off with one of my easiest and kind of most fun ways of adding a writing spot. So every couple of months I tend to coffee dye lots of sheets of paper. I just create a big pile so that I've got plenty of them to use. So I'm just going to tear this one up to start with because I really like the look of tough edges in my journal. And I wanted to tell you a bit more about this collaboration. It is being hosted by Rachel from Rach and Bella Crafts, and she's organised a really wonderful collaboration for February where lots of us are going to be sharing tips and tricks for some of our favourite ways of using our junk journals. So I'm going to leave a link to the playlist down below the video and a link to Rach and Bella Crafts YouTube channel. There's also a hashtag which I will leave linked down below so that if you're on social media and you want to kind of see what everybody else is up to, you can have a look at that hashtag as well. But it looks like there's going to be some really great videos coming up. So there should be one every day of the month throughout February. And there's people that are making faux vintage ephemera. I've seen top tips for lace, embossing without an embossing machine, somebody sharing about lots of different ways to use ink pads. So I think this should just be really fun and lots of ideas for your junk journals. And I know lots of people have got into the junk journaling again since Junk Journal January, so I think this will be a really lovely way to continue that. So I've glued that onto my page and I've just used Pritt Stick to glue that down. And you could leave it just like that, but I always like to add some decoration. So I'm going to use my Floral Daydream stencil, which is from my collection. And I'm going to use some acrylic paint for this. The paint that I'm going to use is from the Amsterdam acrylic paint range, and I'm going to be using greyish blue. I just wanted something that's going to stand out at least a little bit, again on that busy background. And to apply this to my page, I'm going to be using an old makeup sponge. And I always dab it off on this old ceramic plate to try and make sure that I haven't got too much paint on there. And I just want to pick up a few of these images so that it goes onto the paper behind and a little bit onto the writing spot. And I think it's a nice way of making it look like that writing spot kind of belongs rather than having just been kind of plonked on the page. I also use things like washi tape for this or stickers, but I nearly always overlap them. So it's a little bit on the background and a little bit where you're going to be writing. So I've got those up there, and I'm going to add a little bit down here too. And sometimes with my junk journal, I decorate just on the day that I'm using it. But quite often, because I know I'll be short on time during the week, at the weekend I sit down and decorate a few pages in advance so that I know those writing spots are there, and then on the evenings during the week I can just turn to the next page that's got a writing spot on it. Okay, so that is my first kind of tip shared, is just having some papers. It doesn't have to be copy dyed, it could be scrap paper, parts of envelopes, anything that you've got, gluing them down and adding a little bit of decoration. To me that looks so inviting to write in already. The next thing that I really like to is add some tags to my page. And I nearly always decorate these again just because I love the look of it. So you could use cards like these, old luggage tags, or if you've just got some plain white card, that would be absolutely fine. And I'm going to add a little bit of collage on top of mine. So I've grabbed some papers, so I've got that coffee dyed paper back again, and these are printables, I believe all from Pink Monarch Prints. And I'm just going to start tearing up some of these pieces and adding them on my page. So really simple. And again, sometimes at the weekend, or I'll even take a basket over to the settee in the evening of different scraps and some cards, and I'll just spend a little bit of time getting some decorated so they're ready to pop into my journals. And journaling cards are quite good if you've got some journal writing you want to add to your journal but you don't want it to perhaps be immediately visible. If somebody else was to look through your journal, it's a really nice way of being able to add something a little bit hidden. I also sometimes add photos on the back of my tags as well. And these really don't take very long at all to do, but they just turn kind of quite a simple card. So if you were using some plain white card into something really decorative and pretty. And I try not to overthink it with this kind of decorating, just adding lots of different layers. It's just going to look really pleasing. Okay, I've got one final little spot down the bottom. And I try and go through my scraps every month to make sure that I'm starting to work through them, because I have piles and piles of different papers and things that I've collected, and say jelly plate prints, and some of those go into making my junk journals, but then I use the rest for decorating. So now I've got those down, I'm just going to trim off the edges. I really like how that looks just as it is, but I am going to add something extra. I've got this pack of vintage flower stickers from London Gifties. So often add a sticker or maybe a quote, something like that on top. It just adds an extra lovely little bit of decoration. And then for adding this to your journal, you could just tuck it inside a pocket or something like that, but I often like to use some washi tape to apply them to my page, and you could do that all along one side, which I think is what I'm going to do here, or you could add it along the top. So I use the washi tape to create a kind of hinge so that I've got somewhere to write on the back of it. So I'm just going to pop that along there and then add some on the back as well. And what I'll probably do when I actually get to this page in my junk journal is write on the back of this tag, but also glue down another little writing spot on here so that I've got somewhere to write underneath as well. So the next tip I'm going to share with you is to add a simple tuck spot to your journal. So I'm going to add one on here, and I'm going to use this patterned paper, and I'm simply going to cut a strip out of it. I love anything which kind of adds interactive elements to my journal pages. Again, I think anything which makes them really inviting and easy to write on. I already look at those pages and I can't wait until I get to them in my junk journal. I'm just going to cut off this white area. And then trim this down to size. Okay, and then what we're going to want to do is just glue around the top, bottom and the side that's going to be here. So I'm adding a bit more glue at the top and bottom because I know I'm going to need to trim that down in a moment. So I'm just pressing that down firmly on my page. I'll just trim off any of the excess. Then I'm going to add a little bit of decoration on top of here. Again, these came from London Gifties. They're lovely butterfly images. So I'm just going to get one that will fit on top of there. And then with your tuck spot, you could add some little cards in here, or you could add some folded paper, anything you like. So again, you've just created somewhere else now that you can add some little pieces of writing in your journal. My next idea is one of my favourites. We're going to be creating an origami pocket. And for this you'll want some patterned paper, but you're going to want to start off with a square. So I'm going to fold mine diagonally across. because we're going to want a fold in it anyway. And I'm going to use my bone folding tool to just get that nice and crisp. And then I'm going to trim along here. So if you're starting with a square piece of paper, again, make sure you put that fold along the middle, and you want to do that with the pattern facing downwards. And now the next thing we're going to do is bring this top corner down to the bottom so that it lines up with your bottom fold. And again, just get that nice and crisp. The next step is to get one of these corners and fold it in, and you want to make sure that it goes at least a little way past this center point up here. So bring that across and then try and get it nice and flat. And I'm going to do the same on the other side and bring it over and try and get it at least roughly even with where this one is folded. Again, get it crisp. If you haven't got a bone folding tool, you could use a ruler or even kind of a handle of some scissors just to press it down. Okay, now you want to use this top kind of flap that you've got and fold it back on itself so that this fold is in line with your top point here. Again, get that fold nice and crisp. And now you can stand this up and pull apart kind of your little pocket that you've got here, and then press that flat, which should give you a diamond shape on the front of your envelope. And if you want, in fact I think I might with this one, just pop a little bit of glue underneath it to keep it flat. But you actually don't have to, because when we bring the top of the envelope down, that is going to help with that anyway. So now we can fold the top of this down. And then you can pop that point inside your little diamond on the front. So then you've got this beautiful little origami envelope that you can add into your journal. So I just need to make sure I find a page which is going to be big enough for this. Or in fact, I think I might pop it down here because that ties in so beautifully with the look of those pages. So I'm going to apply some glue on the back of here. And I think these are so lovely and fun to send to friends in the post as well. You could pop some little notes inside. So I've got a little paper pad here. I think I might tear out a couple of sheets just to make it really nice and easy for myself when I get to this page in my junk journal. So I'm just going to fold these up. And then I'm going to pop them inside the envelope, and again, a great place for any tickets, photos, anything that you want to add. So I'm just going to open that up and pop them inside my envelope. Before I move on to my final tip, I've kind of got an additional bonus one. When I coffee dye my papers, I always do a couple of sheets of printer labels as well. So they've got that lovely kind of vintagey feel to them. The stickiness still works. And again, they're great for adding to some pages for some writing spots. For my final way of adding a writing spot, I'm going to add some paint to this page. But because it's quite thin paper, I just want to give it a quick protective layer first. So I'm going to add a coat of white acrylic gesso. And when I've got things like book pages, I don't like to cover up all of the writing. So I'm just going to add gesso to some of the page where I want to add the paint. And now I'm just going to quickly dry that off. Now that that coat is dry and I've got a bit of protection on my page, I'm going to use some black acrylic paint. So it's going to have quite a bold look, but I really like adding some kind of surprising looking pages in my junk journal. So I'm going to add that directly on top of where my gesso is. I might have got away with adding the paint straight onto my page, but I just didn't want to risk it kind of seeping through onto the page underneath. So I often use gesso just to make sure that I can use lots of different mediums and just to protect it a little bit. Okay, so again, I'm just going to get that dried off. And for decoration, I'm going to add a little bit of washi tape along the side. And this little postage stamp. And then for writing over the top, I'm going to be using a white Uniball Signo gel pen. And whilst I'm not going to add my writing, my thoughts yet, I thought I might just give it a heading. So I've just added thoughts from the day, and I really love how well the white gel pen shows up on top of the black acrylic paint. So I really hope you've enjoyed that. So we went through 5 ways of adding writing spots to your junk journal. So adding some paper with a little bit of stenciling, a decorated tag, that tuck spot, a beautiful origami envelope, and some paint with the white pen on top, along with using those coffee dyed printer labels. So I really hope you've enjoyed that and it's given you lots of ideas for your own junk journal. Don't forget to check out that playlist. There looks like there's going to be so many wonderful videos and new techniques that certainly I haven't tried out, so I'm really looking forward to following along with all of the different videos that are released as part of this collaboration throughout February. And so don't forget, I'll also leave that hashtag underneath, which is JJ Tips Tricks Hacks 23, so that you can find on social media everybody else that's posting about it too. Well, thank you ever so much for watching. So I really hope you enjoyed that. As always, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. Well, I hope you're doing really, really well. I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next video.